Good morning, and I pray that you are doing well this morning. Thank you for joining me for Leaders of Valor, Leadership Done the King's Way. I am Dr. Trin, and I'll be leading this brief podcast on gratitude today as we have left the Thanksgiving holiday and we're now entering into Christmas or Advent season for those of us who are Christian. We want to talk about gratefulness, our gratefulness, and how grateful we are for all the things that God has done for us. Now, I know that Thanksgiving is usually the day. We take one day in November and we come together as a people, as a corporate unit, and we give thanks for all that we have received, for our family, our friends, our jobs. We're very grateful on that day, especially for the food, right? And that's great. It's wonderful. It's awesome. But what about the other 364 days a year? Are we living 365 grateful? And it's something that I try to work on each day, especially with all that goes on in the world and we see the busyness around us. We see the tragedy around us and all of the horrible things that are going on. But do we take time to really be grateful for some of the things that we are given by God's grace, even when we don't deserve it? Do we feel that we can just get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, and not stop to give thanks on a routine basis for all that we have received? Do you know it is a major blessing to have everything we have in this country? We're one of the most richest, affluent countries in the world. And yet we complain about not having enough to buy another pair of Gucci shoes or whatever. It's always something that we want more of. But today, that's going to be our topic. We're going to talk about being 365 grateful, which is something that I aim to do. And I pray that I do that well as I move from day to day. But first, we want to, as always, invite Holy Spirit in. And we pray, Lord, that you take over, that what you need to be said is said, that people feel you, they hear you, and you reach them right where they are. We know you have a rhema word, a special word for each and every one of us. So touch us where we are. And we want to hear, we want to see, we want to discern what you are saying to your people for such a time as this. Thank you in advance for what you're about to do. And we know you are here with us. So let's talk about this thing, right? So 365 grateful. I know I had a phenomenal, y'all. I had a phenomenal holiday on Thursday. I had 14 people over. Me and mom hosted 14, and I was in my element because I love to cook and bake. So I started prepping on Monday, and I was able to get everything done before family came in Tuesday morning. And we had a great time on Thursday. Then Friday we kind of chilled out, relaxed, didn't do much. Then on Saturday, well, I did prep for Saturday. Then on Saturday, we were able to do a double header surprise birthday brunch for my sister and my great nephew. And it was a blast, y'all. We had 17 people and we played games all day with our family and we just had a wonderful time from like 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night when everybody left. But we had such a great time. And I'm so grateful to this day. I wake up every day and I'm like, oh my goodness, that was so much fun. And we are so blessed to be able to do that. But I'm often reminded not everybody can afford to do something like that. Not everybody can afford to host family and friends. Not everybody can afford to make one meal, let alone two big major meals that spanned a whole weekend. Are we grateful for that, or do we take it for granted simply because it's something that has always been for us and for our families? I'm often reminded as I pass down the streets here in Dallas, Fort Worth, I see so many people who are out on the street, people who do not have anywhere to go. They may not have food. And I'm reminded of the blessing of number one, being able to see, being able to hear, being able to think, but also being able to have a car that I can put very expensive gas in. Gas ain't cheap, I can put gas in the car and I'm able to drive to work. I'm able to drive to the store to pay for more things with the money that God has blessed me to be able to get. And I'm grateful for that. And sometimes we take it for granted when we can't get this in time when we want it. I think we're so spoiled. We can't get this, or we didn't get that for Christmas, or we didn't get this, or we wish that was a greater gift. And oftentimes I have to stand back and say, I had toothpaste this morning. Not everybody can say that, and that is a major blessing. My nieces and nephews and our family came home from work safely. Do we realize how huge of a blessing and a miracle that is in today's society where there's so much hatred around us and so much craziness, and people are not always mentally stable? To have your kids go to school in a world where we've had so many mass shootings, to have you go to work in a world where we've had so many mass shootings, so many accidents occur. I have a major highway here in Dallas, Fort Worth, right outside my window. And I don't think a week goes by where I see a backup because of a major crash. But if we go day to day and we get home safely, and even if we have little fender benders and we're able to walk away from them, even though we're like, oh, my insurance gonna skyrocket and I gotta pay a deductible or my car's gonna be totaled, all these things. Yet we miss the bigger blessing of I walked away from that. Satan was trying to take my life in that moment, but there were angels around me who excel in strength and protection, who took over and watched over me. And I was able to walk past that. Even though I might have a little ache and pain here and there, and I may have a few bruises, I walked away from that. And that's a blessing in and of itself. There are so many who have lost loved ones in the last day, in the last week, in the last month, in the last year. Yet they are not able to say, my loved one went to school and they came home safely. My wife went to work and came home safely. My husband went to work and came home safely. My neighbor went to work and came home safely. They're not able to say those things because they've suffered major loss. If you were able to have a baby this year, you have no idea how blessed you are. Having been a registered nurse and or being a registered nurse and having worked in labor and delivery, I saw families who suffered loss right after delivering babies. If you have kids that you were able to bring into this world and they were able to go home with you, and you were able to, even though they leave their socks on the floor, y'all, even though you were able to have this baby and you made it home and now you're frustrated by some of the things they do, which is absolutely normal, right? Because kids and adults can drive us crazy. But at the end of the day, do you give thanks for the socks that are on the floor? You were able to provide those socks for your kids who just throw them on the floor with their clothes and don't realize the sacrifice that it is for you to be able to purchase those items for them. Are you one who goes to the refrigerator, opens it, and even though every shelf in your refrigerator is full, you say, we don't have anything to eat in here? Are you one who goes to the closet and say, I don't have anything to wear, yet you have over one or two pairs of shoes and five pairs of clothes? Are you one who's, this is a big one, upset because you can no longer fit into an outfit that you wore this time last year? Do we realize what a blessing that is? Because that means you had food. You had food to eat. Therefore, you, outside of any major medical issue, it means you had food to eat. So you may have overeaten a little bit, but now you're angry because I can't fit anything. There are so many who would love to be in our position, yet we take it for granted routinely that we are blessed beyond measure. So, one of the things that I want to do is go through um, each day with the 365 grateful attitude and mentality. I want to live grateful each and every day for everything that God has given me. And when I get into my little riffs and tiffs of, I should have had this by now, I wish I had this, or I need this, I had to step back yesterday when I was going through one of those moments. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I'm still waiting to get, I'm still waiting to hear from, I'm still waiting for this to materialize. And then I thought about it. And in the meantime, I want it for nothing. I live in a warm house when there are people living out on the street. I was cold last night, so I was able to turn on a heater on my mattress to keep me warm at night when there are people who are sleeping in their cars. I was able to drive to work because I was able to get gas in my car to get me from home to here. I was able to brush my teeth and take a warm shower this morning, and I had choices in the outfit that I was going to wear. And reality is, if you only have one outfit, you're more blessed than most people in the world. We take that for granted. If you have more than one pair of shoes and that pair doesn't have holes in it, you're more fortunate than millions of people in the world. And we take these things for granted because we're so used to them. And we get that entitlement syndrome and that affluenza symptom that often plagues us in countries where we have abundance, yet we're forgetting to be grateful for those things. We may not have the job we want. We may have been seeking promotion for 3 years, but if you were able to get up and go to work, be grateful. I know people who've been looking for positions, for jobs, for career moves this entire year and some of last year, and they have not found them yet, and they're literally living off credit cards, or they're sitting in the dark because they can't afford lights and water. As Bishop T.D. Jakes once said, the bills were playing tag. It was like, tag, you're it. Lights on this week, water off this week. Water on this week, lights off this week. I know people who are living in those situations. I know people who are living in their cars. And I know people who are living on the streets. We pass them every day. You don't know what somebody else is going through when you pass or encounter that person. But I want to remind us, take a look around each and every day. Look at all the cars that are on the interstate. Other countries may not have what we have. Many do not. We are blessed beyond measure. Yet we often brush those blessings off as, oh, well, that's because I went to work. That's why I can afford it. And if you went to work, you can afford it too. Who gave you the job? Who gave us the ability to buy a car? Who gave us the car note, even though we hate when that time of the month comes around? Be grateful that you're able to pay for it and keep your car, because everybody's not able. I want to remind us to live 365 grateful. And how can we do that? Each day as you drive to work or as you sit on the bus going to school, turn the radio off. Don't look at TikTok. Just take 5 minutes and go over all the things that you're grateful for that occurred within the last 24 hours. I'm grateful that I was able to turn in a project for school on time and I got a good grade on it. I'm grateful that I was able to drive to work, even though I hate going to work. I'm grateful that I have a job because there are others who wish they had one. I'm grateful that I was able to feed my family last night, even though it was just lentils and rice. We didn't have a lot of sides, but I'm grateful that they went to school without being hungry this morning. I'm grateful that we were sleeping inside, even though we couldn't afford the to turn the heat on. We were inside and we had blankets. We are so blessed beyond measure, even if it doesn't look exactly the way we want it to look. Let's take each day, whether it's morning, noon, or night, on your commute to work and from work. That's the best time to do it because you're not going to be fighting in traffic and saying inappropriate things. You can take those moments to benefit your blessing life and your spiritual life by saying, thank you. Lord, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful that I'm able to speak. I'm able to see this morning. Not everyone is able. I believe it was Elton John who just uh, told everyone he made a public statement and announcement that he lost his sight. We don't realize how blessed we are. And calamity doesn't just come to people who are poor. He ain't poor, y'all, but now he can't see. Calamity knocks on every door. Be grateful for what we have. Be grateful that we're able to speak and wake up in the morning, even though we hate turning the alarm clock off and getting up, going to work. It's too early to go to work. Be grateful that you're able to step out of the bed, fall on your knees, and give a moment of thanks to God at that moment and tell Him, thank you that I am able to get up and move around and walk to the bathroom and prepare myself to go out to the job you gave me. It's a blessing to get a check. It's a blessing to have a car. It's a blessing to pay a car note. There are many who wish they could do so. It's a blessing to travel to and fro on planes and in cars and on buses and come home safely every day. Be grateful for the family that you say gets on your nerves every once in a while. Be grateful for the kids you have because there are many, I know many, who wish they had some, but infertility issues prevent them from having them. There are so many blessings around us. Be grateful for the lights. Be grateful for your office. Be grateful for your home. Be grateful for your eyes, your stomach, your ears, your feet, your hands, your legs. Be grateful that you can hold your bladder because some cannot. There's so many things that, and I think being my background in healthcare, 30 years as in healthcare and in nursing and leadership, have taught me to be grateful because I've seen people much younger than me who wish they had the ability to move around and do things that I can do. So I want to remind us, live grateful, 365 grateful. Count your blessings each and every day. If you have a journal, if you don't, get a book, a regular notebook, 98 cents from Walmart and start with. And it's a blessing to be able to buy that. It's a blessing. So write it down. Write down 5 things every day that you're grateful for. And I recommend you get together with your family. Start your kids off in this mindset when they're young, and maybe they will grow up in an attitude of gratitude, right? Start it off. Make this a daily thing for you and your family to get together and everybody go around in a circle and say one thing that you're grateful for. Maybe we'll get out of this mindset of plenty equals gratitude and we'll be grateful for the little things that we have each and every day. I want to remind you to remember to live for purpose, in purpose, on purpose, and with purpose. Also with 365 grateful mindsets. Be blessed.